get into. But yeah, like I said, it just feels like the death of America. The signs of the death of America was just upon us right now, and we need to take heed to certain things that are happening. Um, Real quick, I wanted to get into just a theory, just a theory that I had. Right. So crazy thing is, I'll start with this. I'll start with this. Right. So Diddy Kong, right, used Kim Porter for bail, right? He used the excuse of Kim Porter's death for bail. I said, "Are you serious?" I'm like, y'all not serious about this, right? He actually used. Make sure. Make sure I pull up the right thing here. Uh, Porter death for bail. Why not put that? Did you Kim Porter death denied bail? That's what I meant to put. Denied bail. Yeah, supposedly he had used Kim Porter's death in order to. Yeah, that's what it was. Tried to use Kim Porter's death to get out of bail. To get bail, I should say. He tried to use her death to get bail, and which that also backfired. I'm saying to myself, this is why it was even denied bail because if you remember before, he tried to summon Kim Porter. This is how all this started. It circles back to all has all started. Him summoning Kim Porter through that song with Babyface, titled after her. Everything went downhill from there. Sloan Bella, of course, broke that down to you guys. Amazing video, of course, if you want to look at 3 part series that she's done as well as the videos we have on here. Everything started from him trying to summon and talk to Kim Porter, and then you all of a sudden it circles comes full circle where you almost get that second chance of light, and then you still try to use Kim Porter's death in vain to get bail to go back home. It's like you haven't learned anything. You haven't learned anything whatsoever. You haven't learned anything. So with that, I started thinking, okay, since we know he's going to be kept in jail to the Keefe D trial, right? We know he's going to be kept in jail for that, at least for that long, right? And as of you see at the current date, Keefe D's trial is scheduled for February 9th, 2026. And I said, well, Diddy's sentencing is until October, which means if his sentencing is out in October, he stands definitely a chance of, even if he got like a year or two in jail, he's still going to be in custody and in jail past or around the time the Keefe D trial happens. So I'm like, if he's going to be around when the Keefe D trial happens, then they're definitely holding him for the trial. You see what I'm getting at? They plan to hold him because they always keep saying there's more and more charges, right? It's more and more charges. Yes, very scary time we're in. Very scary time we're in. They also said there's more and more charges being brought, right? Even DJ Academics, he interviewed Little Rod the other day, right? And Little Rod even said, well, the feds have more charges being brought up on him. It's not necessarily just the ones that they already got beat with. They have more charges to bring up on him. On top of, like I said before, the lawsuits that the dozens of lawsuits that he still has. Little Rod's case is not necessarily thrown out. His lawsuit was just paused and postponed until the Fed's case was done. So now, being that he's in custody, those things can resume. So, with that, I said, well, if he has all this going on, which I said before, they weren't going to get him on sex trafficking as much as they will get him on Kim Porter's death when they reopen the case, and Pac. And through Pac, they will find out about Biggie later on, hopefully. But it starts with that, and it starts mainly with Pac. Your obsession with Pac, Diddy, also brought this karma, this cosmic karma that's happening to you now. Okay? To where, right? The Keefe D trial is happening in February. You're just now getting your sentencing in October. You don't even get to go home. Okay? Think about that. You don't even get to go home. Let's start there. You don't even get to go home. Okay, so I need to get something real quick to snack on before I pass out over here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to put on next was, so Young Noble, right? They said it was a death by suicide. When I heard about Young Noble passing, I said, well, that is a former outlaw of Tupac's. But not a lot of people know that he was actually the last member that was signed to, or I should say the last member to join the Outlaws. He was the very last member before Pac died to join the Outlaws. Young, 17, 18 years old at the time. And pretty much, was drug into the middle of the East Coast, West Coast beef. War time in his eyes, right? Interesting thing, right? So, not only, let me pull this up here. Not only did Young Noble do a diss track to Keefe D, but I said, what are the odds if I just Google Young Noble Diddy, right? And what do you know? Outlaws Young Noble recalls an altercation with Diddy and Pac. I said, why would he randomly die of suicide at 47? Just did an interview with Art of Dialogue about 6 months earlier, which we're going to look at some of in a second. I'm not buying the suicide. Gaddafi isn't, I don't think. I mean, not Gaddafi. Rest in peace, Gaddafi. Idi Amin. Idi Amin is not buying it. A lot of people are not buying it. That he died of a suicide at 47 years old. And he just beat a heart attack not too long ago. I very much doubt that. So I said, what if something happened to him as a result of what he might know? Because of course he was the young one that came into the scene around the time, but he's also he's one of the ones that if you were to ask him certain questions, he would have no problem telling you. Doesn't owe anybody to the elites or anything like that. So with that, you say to yourself, okay, what else does he know from Pac? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at? What else does he know from Pac if he can remember that particular altercation?
Y'all had a run in with Mobb Deep and Chino XL, right?
Mobb Deep and Chino XL. Well, I remember Mobb Deep. We ran into them in Arizona, I think. We had a concert in Arizona, and we was booked on the same show, and we pulled up to the concert, and we was back in the back of the venue, the back way entrance, and it's like we got out the cars at the same time, and we walked up to each other, and it was a mutual respect, man. That's all I could say. It was, they looked at us, and we looked at them, and it was a mutual respect, and we start talking. It's on film. We had put it on our Outlaws Worldwide DVD that we had dropped, and I don't know. It was just a natural thing where it was just like enough's enough, Pac dead, Biggie dead. Like, what we about to do? You know? So we saw Mobb Deep. It was a mutual respect, and that's what it was. We were staying in the same hotel and you know, it was what it was. And then Chino XL, we ran into him at a club somewhere. I remember he just walked up to us and he basically started apologizing for, you know, the line, whatever he said that, you know, um, got Pac on the other side of him, you know. He apologized and he was like, yo, it's nothing but love, you know what I mean? I remember chopping up with him like, you know, you from Jersey, you know what I mean? I'm from Jersey, whatever it was. And my first time ever meeting Chino. His crazy part is I'm talking about like immediately after that, maybe like 2 months after that, right? We staying at the Oakwood Apartments. We had a spot over there in Toluca Lake. You know, this was like one of the first spots Pac had got us. But later on, we wound up going back there too. We just liked it over there, just to have a little spot over there. And we coming down the hallway one day and we see Chino walking with his girl. We're like, yo, what's up? My second time seeing him. He like, yo, I stay right down the hallway. You know, it was the Oak was like corporate apartments where you could just stay there for 1 month. It's already furnished, and a lot of actors and stayed there. You know, it's like right in the area where I think like the Warner Brothers studio or something. So like all these models and actors and you know stayed up in the Oakwoods and But yeah, so Chino, he actually lived. He stayed down the hallway from us after we met him, man. You know what I mean? Yep. So we used to see him and him and his girl and his kid, and they stayed in the apartment like 3 doors down from us, man. This was like probably 2 months after we met him, so it was a good thing we met him that night. And he was a genuine dude, man. He was cool as you know. So, you know, that's what it be. It's like, you know, if it ain't no problem, it ain't no fucking problem. They just want you to have a problem. Like, man, that's silly, man.
I remember some years ago, what was the situation with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I heard they block you out from performing. Like, what's the backstory behind that?
It's just it's things we've been experiencing our whole career, man. People trying to what's the word for it? I don't know. I know Tretch. So twice he reached out to us in a big moment. You know, over these years, man, I done seen so many big rappers perform Hail Mary. Like they added to their show. I'm talking about so many of them. And Tretch is the only one. None of them guys ever reached out and say, you know what, I'm gonna do a real tribute, man, and bring the Outlaws out. You know, the song edit for Hail Mary it's 2 minutes. Pop first verse, the hook, Outlaws, boom. Crazy, right? We've been performing this song all across the fucking world for the last 20, 30 goddamn years. How long we've been doing this, man? But Tretch is the only one who in a big moment reached out to us like that. So Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So you know when they do these award shows sometimes and do tributes, they just want to just get random people to do it, random other celebrities to perform for the tributes. And they called Tretch and said, we want you to do Hail Mary. And Tretch said, I'm not doing it without the Outlaws. I need the Outlaws there. And he reached out to us like the day before. I got on the flight and it was like snowing. It was real bad weather. And I wound up having to have a layover in Baltimore, and the connecting flight, it was pushed back. I had to stay the night. Called him, yo, I can't even make it to the Edie wound up making it. He went to the practice with Tretch, and he got a call later, and they told Tretch that if Idi Amin goes on stage with him to perform Hail Mary, a Tupac and the Outlaws song, that they was gonna cut his performance. You know what I mean? Ain't that some Yeah, inducting Tupac into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Idi Amin is the first outlaw that Tupac said, oh yeah, this is it. Edie before.
The disrespect, the absolute disrespect on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Connections, again, a connection of not only Jay-Z and Sean, but Sean Combs as well. the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. As you know, Jay-Z has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's not by coincidence, okay? Among other writers, hip hop writers recently, right? Okay. So, as you notice, Young Noble is not shy about telling his truth. He doesn't have anything to hide. Again, he was 17, 18 when he came into the game. The group of the Outlaws, Pac told him a lot of things. Shared a lot of information with him. And he's not hesitant to tell his truth and how he feels about all these stories. In hindsight, side note, Mobb Deep and Chino XL, rest in peace to Chino XL and Prodigy, both had beef with Pac. But they also had beef with Jay-Z.
Castro and Gaddafi was, Pac was making sure Edie was getting ready because he was having him up next, man. Since they was little kids, man, that was disgusting. That they told Edie he can't fucking go on stage to perform our own goddamn song, inducting him Pac into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He just want a more popular face instead of, his real fucking brothers in real life who's legendary as shit,
Very disgusting, man.
Super fucking disgusting, So that's what happened with that. And the other time Tretch reached out to us was the 20-year anniversary of the MTV Awards. And our manager at the time, Steve Lobel, called us and he was like, yo, Naughty wants y'all. They wanted to do a Pac tribute. And again, they wanted Naughty to do it. And again, Tretch and Naughty said, the Outlaws need to be there, man. What is this? He reached out, they want to do Salt and Pepper on stage, Run DMC, Busta Rhymes, Salt and Pepper, Run DMC, Busta Rhymes, Naughty by Nature, and they said P. Diddy was going to be on stage. Steve Lobel had a, big sit down with us. We had just released the album. Pac dead, Biggie dead, Gaddafi dead, all this shit. And he was like, he convinced us, like, I love y'all. Y'all good niggas, real niggas, humble niggas, family guys. Y'all deserve to be on big fucking platforms, man. Y'all the Outlaws. Like, he basically begged us, go participate in this shit. It's the MTV 20-year anniversary. All these legends on stage. Y'all gonna honor Pac. This ain't about P. Diddy being on the other side of the fucking stage. This about y'all honoring y'all brother, man. And he was right, And we get there and this is, like I said, it was Tretch who actually, reached out for us to do this. And we was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it, man. Like, fuck all that other shit. Like, we not savages. We not fucking animals. Like, yeah, we could, for if this could make a bunch of motherfuckers watching us save a few lives or, whatever, inspire some motherfuckers, yes, let's do it. We all agreed we was going to do it. And that was the only thing that was fucked up to me because we promised Tretch and them that, we was going to show up and do this and honor Pac, and it didn't happen. Moo was drinking and we on stage. It was a practice early, Mind you, earlier Puffy, he was walking around. He wanted to talk to us, but we didn't want to talk to him. He wound up talking to Big Syke though. So Big Syke from Thug Life was with us, and him and Puffy probably was around each other in the early days when Pac was around them dudes. You know what I'm saying? And so Puffy walked up to Big Syke and they stepped to the side and they had a conversation. But we ain't had nothing to say. We didn't want to talk to that nigga. You know what I'm saying? And so he was doing his part. And then Moo, Puffy was almost done with the song, and Moo walked up and kind of like grabbed the mic, like the song was over. It was our time to go. He ain't walk up like you give me the fucking mic, but he walked up like Puff kind of took offense to that, like hold on, Playboy. Next thing you know, all these fucking ninjas jumped on stage and shit, and security, all these motherfuckers and shit. We're like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? And yeah, so little melee. They wind up, we wind up getting escorted out, trying to see if we're gonna be able to come back later to perform, but we ended up not being able to perform that night.
As you heard, who got that shut down? You heard loud and clear who got that shut down, over what, and over whom. You heard loud and clear what that was over. Now, who's to say there's that other information that Noble knows? Reason why I say that is because of the diss track that he did right before he died. Where he disses Keefe D.
Check 1 2, check 1 2. This is AGTV. Now, obviously, that Keefe D is still in custody. He has not posted bail. His bail is set at, I want to say, what was it? Keefe D's bail is set at $750,000. Now, Young Noble has just dropped a song. In the song, he's obviously taking a shot at Keefe D. The song is called Pac, Yak, and Fatal. Obviously a tribute. Pretty dope song. It's not bad. I know some people that are not fans at all of some of the Outlaws, but I'll play it and see what y'all think. Let me know.
The line that was aimed directly at Keefe D. We ain't seen you since 9/6. Now you got locked up for being on the internet bumping your lips.
Right there, he's obviously talking about Keefe. I'll play it for y'all again if you didn't get it. You didn't catch it? Here you go. He said he's been hiding since 96. Since 1996. Y'all messing with the track? I'll play the rest of it. Hopefully I won't get flagged, but shout out to Young Noble.
Did you hear that? I heard that one loud and clear as well. That's the line people are not talking about. You also dissed Jay-Z.
Seems like a good dude. I know he had a health scare some time ago. Hope he's good now. On this one, I never heard him, just like this gritty on a track before. Like his voice is grittier. Like I fuck with it. He went off. He definitely went off. He came from the heart with this one.
Yeah, and of course when he says Yak and Fatal, he's talking about rest in peace to Fatal, rest in peace to Gaddafi. That's Yak. But yeah, interesting bars the way you diss Keefe D, but then you also diss Jay-Z in the same rap. I was like, and then you die 6 months later of a suicide. So to myself, what else did he know? What else did you know, Young Noble? Rest in peace to you. Rest in peace to you. I say it bothered me. It bothered me with that information. Like, oh, you mentioned the altercation with Diddy, with Pac, and then you over Pac, I should say, not with Pac, but you mentioned an altercation that happened that pretty much got you, that pretty much blew a whistle on his connections with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? Then you diss Jay-Z, saying that in reference to Pac that, Jay-Z has these lines saying that he's battling ghosts. He's saying you've been battling Pac this whole time, pretty much, right? Like I said, those two things stood out the most to me. And like I said, I can't help but think that, the trial being less than a year from now with Keefe D, Diddy still being locked up, Jay still running around being the godfather of music now. What is it to stop something from happening to Young Noble? He just dies at 47 after he just beat a heart attack. You mean to tell me he took his own life at 47? You heard him right? He just recovered from the shit like 6-7 months ago. All of a sudden he takes his own life at 47? I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Idi Amin's not buying it. I'm not buying it. Like I said, I wish I knew what you knew, Young Noble. I wish I knew what you knew. What you remember. If you notice, only besides Napoleon, who pretty much, he minded his business back in the day. He watched certain things, but he minded his business, and he's never been the one to really speak on the beefs and the in and out things that happened back then with Tupac. He's always been the peaceful one, if you notice Napoleon, right? And Idi Amin doesn't do any type of interviews like that. He was one of the closest ones, but he doesn't do any interviews like that regarding Tupac and his his blueprint and his teachings and things like that. He doesn't do any interviews like that. So of course, like I said, someone like Young Noble is now doing interviews on the Art of Dialogue where everybody gets their information from. You're saying to yourself, okay, what else does Young Noble know? What else is he willing to tell? This, that, and the third. If he is willing to tell all this information to Art of Dialogue, what would he be willing to tell, the police about Diddy in regards to Pac? You know what I'm saying? It's little things like that that immediately stuck out of my brain. What else would he be willing to offer as far as information? I say might have been the first attempt. That's quite possible. Like I said, I don't even necessarily think that was the case, because he was thankful that he even, he was thankful he didn't check out because of it. He said he was thankful he didn't check out of it. So how could someone be so thankful of it, try to go at it again? You see what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think he would try to do it again if it messed up the first time that bad. Because now it's like you trying to slap God in the face. I don't think he would do that. He looks like a very God-fearing person. I don't think he would do that. So yeah, I don't necessarily buy the suicide as much as, like I said, him mentioning Diddy, the altercation over Pac with Diddy at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as well as the Jay-Z diss. I'm wondering, like I said, what did you know, man? What else did you know? Sitting there with the bottle, just drinking, talking, just letting go of everything, right? And like I said, the other Outlaws have not been as outspoken, especially you would think Idi Amin would have real stories back then like that. Napoleon had some stories. He always tells the truth, but for the most part, like he always said, he's Switzerland. He stays out of a lot of beefs, doesn't necessarily listen to the internet, things like that. He stays on his own little planet in the world and likes to keep it that way. That's Napoleon. He stays away from any type of drama and refuses to, of course, even spread any drama in or even talk about certain things in interviews. If you notice, he's very cautious with that. So that's always how Napoleon has been recently. So the only person, like I said, left of the Outlaws that would have information that's willing to spill is a Young Noble, because Gaddafi's dead and so is Fatal. Unfortunately, like I said, rest in peace to Young Noble. Very, very intelligent man. As you hear, wordsmith and bars. That's why he was signed. That's why the Outlaws picked him up. Could flat out rap. He could flat out rap. Very, very, very enlightening story. But let me see.